All right, people, welcome back to the Pumpernickel podcast.
Pumpernickel!
There it is. I guess we'll just jump straight into questions again. Questions from our own group.
From us to
Yes,
us.
exactly. Questions from us to us.
For you.
For you. We got some dumbass questions for y'all this week, too, by the way, if anybody's listening.
Shocking.
Yeah. Side note, find out my mom listens to the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny.
Hey, Elvin's mom.
Whoa, I don't like
Whoa.
that. I don't like that at all.
This is Eric. This is
I
Eric
don't like
Gatz speaking.
That's Eric speaking?
Wanted to know.
You ain't ready for that, bro.
Thank you for accepting my friend
That's a
request
grown
on
woman. You ain't ready
Facebook.
for that.
Well, she did request me as a friend on
She
Facebook.
did, but
All right, guys. This is going the wrong direction. All right, so we're starting this off with the discussion that we're about to have, but we're going to save for the podcast. My question is, where are gas stations in New York? Because I've walked pretty much the full island of Manhattan and seen a total of 0 gas stations. Mm-hmm. There's granted not everyone has a car, that's true, but there are a lot of cars.
I agree with that. My argument was that, like, New York City in general is an old city. It has been developed for much longer than a lot of other cities are, and so anything that is built new is usually built on top of something that already existed. And then combine that with the fact that gas stations take up a ton of space and take up another, because you not only does it take up space, but like you have to think about the traffic that gets blocked off by having one, like having it present. You also have to think about getting fuel back and forth to it as well as supplies, because you got to find a way to get, when people buy, like chips and shit, all of that that's in there has to get back and forth. Tankers have to get in and out of there safely. And so those things take up a lot of real estate that a city like Manhattan does not have. And so because it's already been predefined as not a gas station before gas stations, and then combine that with that need, I think is the reason why they don't exist.
Mm-hmm. So where are they? New Jersey?
Well, New Jersey, one. A lot of New Yorkers do live, surprisingly. Funny enough, I think a lot of New Yorkers live in Jersey.
They do live in Jersey,
Yeah, because it's a hop and a skip. And then combine that with the fact, because New Jersey has them because there's more room. And then other parts of New York, we always think of New York as just Manhattan, but New York is a massive state, and a lot of it looks like Georgia. It's backwoods.
Oh, yeah. If you go to Buffalo, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I think
even
it's
before
more
Buffalo.
It's more reference to like New York City, right?
Yeah, that's the thing is like, yes, that's true. All those are good points, but there are still, like, what if a car breaks down because it's out of gas in the middle of Manhattan? What's the protocol? Well, you just fucked?
Well, I guess imagine you get towed out.
So that's, I can imagine that happens somewhat often.
Towed out on the subway.
And they are, like, because my aunt lives up there, and I have seen them. I've seen a couple, but they're outside of Manhattan itself.
Right.
So people fuel before they hit the bridge a lot of times, and then do whatever they got to do in the city, I think. And then I imagine that if you ran out of fuel, you get towed from the city to a gas station on the other side.
I feel like that cost could be counteracted by having some sort of non-traditional gas station in New York. I mean, it wouldn't be like a regular pull-up one like we have the rest of the country, because they have underground and above ground all sorts of stuff. Like they have below ground and like double story
Like
Targets,
Walmarts,
whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some sort of underground or vertical stacked
gas station.
to some degree.
Yeah. The only danger about that is like I was saying, like, first you have to build underground in a city that is ancient for all intents and purposes, and then on top of that, above ground. I did a little bit of research before the podcast, and one of the big issues with above ground tanks is the regulation. And above ground tanks come with a whole host of issues that underground. I think what I read, I'll pull it back up in a second, but what I read was something like 90-something% of tanks are underground tanks, even in cities where you would have the real estate to do it above ground, because it's just, the regulation is just better. It's easier to maintain, because I think something like I read, all right, I'll go through a couple of them basically. So like all major convenience store chains and fuel implement underground systems for their retail fuels. 80 to 90% of leaks come from the lines joining the tanks to the dispensers and the tanks according to themselves. Installing ASTs in vaults will do nothing to alleviate this problem. Line leak direction pressurized line leak detectors and intersectional monitoring are not available for ASTs.
Well, all these technical parameters and regulations and whatnot, like, isn't it just because a lot of this regulation technology wasn't effective enough to be able to make an above ground.
That's
like,
the thing.
It's
like,
still not. That's the issue, is that it's still not very well done. And then tank.
But is it, or is it a lot of like back policy that like just because logically, underground makes sense, it's easier, more convenient.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I see
But,
what
but if you increase the cost, because it obviously be more costly, there'll be more security features. But I think it can be done, right? Like nowadays.
It
I
can
think
be done, but the same way, like
because you know how government is. Like,
Right,
there's a
right.
policy.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
very
very,
restrictive
very
and,
stagnant
like,
about
yeah.
But it's the same type of thing. It's like, just like in chemistry, right? Something has like an energy you have to expend to get it to another state. It's like the same with policy. Like all of this research and development would have to go into making that happen when we already have an effective solution.
but we don't have an effective solution for that.
Well, for them, it's the subway. The subway is really the main effective.
It
And that's
is.
a good point too. Is that there's only so far you can take things underground, because what's underground?
The
Subways.
What's go above ground?
Above ground, like I said, the above ground issue is the regulation and the technology isn't there to
So-
effectively do it the same way you would do on underground.
Right, so it'd be a whole new type of thing, but the thing is, we're already, people in Manhattan are getting access to ridiculous amounts of ridiculous items. Like, they're shipping in stuff from all over the world to New York. I mean,
So you have to make it, right? Like let's say that's the issue. Let's say the issue was that now you need more gas stations in New York City, Manhattan specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it. Like if today that was the case, enough money gets put in, it gets done.
True, but the sticking to the argument of a centralized New York, right? Like people in New York people in Manhattan. There are some, very few, I think, people in Manhattan that have cars themselves. Like a lot of the taxis and stuff come from outside of the city to service in the city.
Yeah.
And owning a car in the center of Manhattan is stupid expensive.
correct.
Yeah, spots by themselves. I think I read somewhere like a spot in the center of Manhattan for your car is $800 a month.
Correct.
Which is more than rent in a lot of places in the U.S. And so it's just not feasible to have a car for a lot of people, and therefore not feasible to really have a gas station in the city.
But by the same token, so let's say we focus only on, assume 0% of people in Manhattan own a car that live there. It's 100% taxis and Ubers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Every time a taxi or an Uber needs to get gas, they have to drive over the bridge through gridlock to get to a gas station and then drive back to work.
Yeah, the same reason why LA traffic is terrible. Some shit just is, but in the same sense, it's like people like going along those same arguments is like, why not expand the roads of LA to like 17 lanes on both sides so people just never have to deal with it.
Dude.
It's doable, but it would be such a drastic use of resources that could be diverted somewhere else.
You can spend 8 hours. You think you can spend 8 hours a day in traffic on a full tank, like a car
For one day?
or like an 8 hour, like a ship.
Uh-huh.
Or you spend 8 hours in traffic driving people around the city on a full tank,
Mm-hmm.
and then when your shift's over, you go back across the bridge or whatever, and the next morning you fill up and do it again.
Right, because it's...
because the issue. Well, we're not saying that it's like
the
a
island
critical
is-
issue that the island's freezing.
the island's like 2 miles
Because it
long.
operates and it works. We're just like
Yeah. The same as like San Francisco, like
Wait, which island is 2 mile long?
Manhattan.
Manhattan.
I feel like it's more than 2
Or no,
miles.
it's like
It's not very far, whatever it is.
It's like 4 max, I think, because
It's not
long
very
wise it's not very long,
Wait, so you're
and
not
width
counting
wise it
Upper
isn't that
Manhattan.
wide.
You're not counting
Counting Upper
Harlem.
Manhattan, because the island of
Harlem
Manhattan
is
is
way,
pretty
but
small.
Harlem is like part of Upper Manhattan,
Well-
and that's way bigger because
Well,
it's like
Harlem is lower.
100
Like the 5 boroughs exist pretty low in the Manhattan.
We are all way off. It's 13.4 miles.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
The whole island,
Yep.
top to bottom.
Yep.
What's
Okay.
above Manhattan? Queens.
no.
Well, Manhattan.
That's to the right of
Queens
it.
is to the right.
It's to the left.
Queens. You got
Somewhere,
Yeah, it's to the
Because
it's
Brooklyn
to the
is
it's
right here,
west.
so
what's
Yeah,
wrong?
because when you connect
It's
yeah.
Brooklyn and all of that, and the 5 boroughs exist where you connect
there's
to Manhattan.
probably like 30 gas stations. In
yeah, Harlem is Upper Manhattan,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there.
and then above that is
Because Harlem's
Bronx.
like the 100th Street. Like you get up to the.
They get up into the hundreds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so it's like
west-
127.
yeah, Harlem's like 120 something,
Yeah,
yeah.
either way, they're
Yeah,
they're still,
Bronx is like
they're still
120.
driving around, so they got a system.
Yeah.
No,
And so-
that was.
Okay, too many
I'm not
ones.
talking about them not being able.
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
because it obviously
I
happens.
guess my argument at the end of the day of all of this is that it would be a dramatic shift. There would be a lot of resources that would have to shift around to do it, and it isn't beneficial to a city that already has a culture of 1, not owning a car in particular, and 2,
not even know how to drive.
not even knowing. Yeah, because that's a
Yeah.
funny thing that they bring up too, is that a lot of New Yorkers in their 40s and 50s cannot drive a car because they never had to. And so, like for us in the South, we can't go a goddamn place without a car in this state. For them, it is the norm. You know what I mean? So it's like I think the car culture is different for New York. It's the same as like San Francisco. Like when I was out there, I looked around and I was like, there aren't a lot of big cars out here, and everything that I'm seeing is a fucking Prius or Tesla. So it's like there's just a different car culture depending on where you are.
All right, so let's ignore reality. Let's say hypothetically, like shit's going south. Manhattan's got to have some gas stations. What are we gonna go like above ground? Are we gonna like make a pipeline in there? How are we gonna do this? You think?
If I were like a civil engineer for the state of New York, I would try to do an underground one because, like I said, the regulation is just better, and I think New York in general has tougher regulations for that type of stuff in the first place.
Especially, yeah.
Yeah, and so like I would do a below ground, and the issue is that you would have to pick your spot because you're dealing with a city that has tons and tons of underground already carved out for so yeah. It's like already carved out. Honestly, I like I said, I think it's highly unlikely, and I think it's not a good idea to try to put one there. But
ignoring that fact,
ignoring all of that,
So
it would be very. I would imagine it'd be only a few reasonable spots you could do.
Have a door-to-door service that sells gas, kind of like the milkman.
What do you come with a
But
tank
you
of
come
gas?
with like a 15-gallon tank. You drop it
Honestly,
off and you
does
grab
that
it.
not a
Honestly, not a bad
I was gonna say,
idea.
And you grab the recycled one.
Yeah.
And honestly, maybe a mobile one in that you
So you
already
just
have
have
the
a-
tank. If you
just
build
have
a
a
structure,
You just have a
gas
truck.
truck.
Yeah,
Just
a
have a
truck
gas
that
truck
has
parked
You have a
somewhere.
truck
Yeah.
with a 15-gallon
yeah,
gas canister.
Yeah,
You
mobile-
just
a
drop
mobile
them
gas
off,
station,
grab them.
yeah.
mobile
mobile
gas
gas
station.
station.
You could have that.
And it probably like sets up somewhere in the morning or in the afternoon.
So with that same question, like Nate said, there's obviously a system. There's obviously a system. Otherwise, they would have fixed it ages ago.
Absolutely.
We'd be talking about because it obviously works. You go there, you can get taxis and Ubers. That's not a fucking problem.
It definitely
There's
is.
just a situation we're thinking about, right?
Uh-huh.
But under that same reasoning, like the mobile gas station that Mike just said.
which by the way is a stolen idea from It's Always Sunny. Still hilarious though.
Is it?
Yeah.
But either which way, if you didn't get it to work, I guess would it then start producing money? Because a simple idea, that's not too heavy on terms of like cost of infrastructure, maybe just regulatory. But once you get past that, would it help some money?
Yeah.
Instead of you having to like go all the way out, like Nate was saying, Uber drivers would gain that money difference into their pockets.
But then it's like, one, where do you set up? Two,
Anywhere, to be honest.
I mean, you can set up anywhere, but then it's like traffic diverts to that. So like you have this like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
when you have streets there, people are setting up to get gas from this truck. Now you're fucking up traffic. You see how it happens in Atlanta. One exit will fuck up traffic for miles back.
Yeah.
Imagine that in a city as tight knit as Manhattan, where there's cars gridlocked even without this.
I think you would.
Because it's a system, right? You probably use analytics to find out typical like
The
most
traffic
highly
flow, the
highly
flow of
traffic. Yeah.
Right.
So
And
Yeah.
then depending on a different time of the day as well.
So picturing this, I picture instead of doing what 99.9% of tanks for gas tanks are horizontal tanks underground. I think instead you do a vertical tank to reduce the amount of underground space you take. So you have a deep, so let's say it's 20 foot, it's instead of doing 20 foot sideways.
20 foot up and down.
Correct. And instead of the normal, big open area of every other gas station you've ever seen, you have probably either a ramp up or a one-way direction. So it goes with the flow of traffic. No one's trying to go the other way. And it goes up to
Like a parking garage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then instead of having one big fucking, parking garage or one big lot, you have like a straight line of some sort. So that way it's kind of like,
So traffic goes in and then comes out one way.
It should be like
Yeah.
a pit stop at NASCAR.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put
Just
it.
pull over.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what. And by the way, I'm not saying not a word of what you say makes sense. I think all of this makes sense. I'm just saying overall in the sense of a city that flows a certain way.
Yeah, it would be
This
like
doesn't
conveyor
make
belt
sense.
style.
Right. Like it'd be. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like
What
you
if
pull
some-
in, you pull out.
What if somebody actually take these ideas and get rich off of it?
Well, it's recorded,
I'll be
so we're
after
still
you.
in it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be after your ass. Like I'm into the Zuckerberg.
Yeah, because you think about it, if you do that mobile web, like you optimize paths, you start like that'll eventually reduce gas prices.
Correct. Because to start off with, it's going to be horrendous prices.
Right, and then it like reduces the gas price. I wonder how that would change.
But then it's like
Wait,
you've
why
been
would it
arguing
be-
what we. What?
Why would it be high gas prices. I thought the price of gas was
regulated. Beyond that.
Yeah, it was based on like
oil per
how long
barrel,
it takes for you to get it to the place.
Yeah, it's gonna take you forever to get there. To get a tanker through Manhattan,
I thought that was.
I don't think it'll be that hard.
you have to pipe
OPEC
it.
handles that.
You have to pipe it. You can't tank
And
it.
the state,
Yeah.
and the region. You know, it's more expensive
Yeah.
in Atlanta than Marietta.
Right, and it's also gas tax, where 60 cents is California per gallon.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just like I said, it just depends on that. Like logistically, I see where you're coming from, but in like if we're operating back in the realm of reality, it would be very, very tough.
It was. But I think you pipe it in. You can't tank it in. It's too big.
Well, how are you going to get pipelines done in New York?
How'd you get,
We're still doing this under the guise of not it being realistic.
how'd you get a subway in New York?
Well, if that's the case, you could just have a helicopter come in and just shut it.
Drops into a funnel.
Yes.
It just opens up the bottom and it just drives it like push, like drops gas.
Forest firefighter just dropping
Yeah,
raw
raw gas into the middle of the city. Yeah,
It's raining. No, that's
And
just
the
gas.
cars.
Just stand out with your buckets.
yeah. Ooh, thanks, gas truck. Yay!
Gas Day Wednesday, boy.
It's gas Wednesday, boys.
That's awesome.
That's true.
But no, I think some sort of linear, non-square setup of pumps and a vertical tank would allow you to streamline the process. Hell, this might be a better way to do gas stations now. Because nowadays it's that big square and everyone's always running into each other like a bunch of ding-dongs. Maybe you need just one straight line where you know where people are coming in and out.
Well, a lot operate that way. Like Quick Trips and stuff have a flow.
Yeah.
There's a way you're supposed to go in and a way you're supposed to go out.
Right, but
People
still-
don't fuck with that. They just do whatever they want.
That's the thing, is that it's always still the same horizontal setup.
Yeah.
It's never an inline setup.
You just mean like one long line. Of,
Correct. They're all still in parallel.
in parallel. Well, I guess that's to maximize pumps. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
well, I mean, it has to make sense to maximize pumps because you're increasing like just the same way you increase surface area by creating folds. Like you create like the more than you can get per like.
True,
Yeah.
but if I can get 30% more people through an hour, I can compensate for that.
Yeah, but I don't think that the side by side is really fucking up their flow. You know what I mean? Like people still slide in and then get out.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a swirl. People are like
Because it's more
I
like a
think-
circle.
Right,
and
yeah.
then once
Like I think you
gas
compare
tank
the
comes
minuscule costs, like because
That's
if we
the
do
answer.
it line, what would you say?
That's the answer. You have the store in the middle and you have a circle around it.
Well, I don't know if that's the answer
Wait,
either.
I didn't say that.
What about people
Store-
that
you want
have
to
the
store.
gas
I'm
going
about
on
to say
the
it's
other
on
side?
both
Right.
sides. Though. Yeah. Remember the cars don't all have it on the
Passenger
same side.
side, driver side.
Yeah.
You gotta drive counterclockwise inside the circle.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is a
Outside.
point.
That's a
Yeah.
really good point.
Cars have gas things, yeah.
Yeah, okay, spin off of that. Who the hell is mixing and matching these?
Yeah, like.
Well, it
like-
depends on the design of the vehicle, right? And
Yeah,
that's,
well, it may be like the country of the vehicle.
Put that tube out the
Yeah,
left
that's
and put that tube out the right.
that's also a good point too. Is that it also probably depends on the country of origin because a lot of countries drive on the other side, so there might be a different flow.
Yeah.
Can't we all just get along?
Right. Because think about like
Well,
you enter the gas
the
station.
U.S. who doesn't get along, especially like with the metric.
It's us in
and,
like Australia or something like shit like that just don't
like
fuck with
we're the
us.
only one who doesn't follow the metric system.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we messed on that one.
Who drives on the
And
right
metric just makes more sense. That's a whole other argument. It's like
Yeah.
we should just be metric. Like,
So you don't want to count by 16s?
Nah, I'm good. 1/12 of something is really not that beneficial for me. I'd rather just do a normal system like everybody else. Call somebody 2 meters tall.
So you
instead.
want to conform like some sheep.
Like some,
He was
and the Mexican told me that.
Like some sheep.
Like some goddamn sheep. That's not what this country was founded on. America.
It's always 10 stone.
Yeah, right. Except stone. I don't fuck with stone at all.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the
Stone's
it's
so
the
dumb.
serious.
What about furlongs?
Furlong or pence. Like yeah, like all of that. Nah, I'm good. Y'all keep that weak shit.
Parsecs?
But I will take the parsec, but I'll take the metric system. Yes,
Yo, you counting time in parsecs?
that's wild boy.
Or is that distance, isn't it?
That's
Fuck if I know.
I thought parsecs was a distance, right? Like a
Is it-
distance in time.
It is. It's a
it's
distance.
a distance light travels in a certain amount of time.
That's light years.
It's 3.26 light years.
There it is. I knew
Light
it.
years, yeah, distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it, he said.
Yeah, it says the
Yeah, I knew
distance
that.
light travels in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I
That's
knew
still a time. All right, never mind. Here we go.
Yeah,
What
okay.
day?
All right, well, let's wrap. That was
That was a good
that was a
question.
good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a solid
Now for the
discussion.
listener that's left after that long ass intricate civil engineering discussion about
Let's dumb it back down for everyone
dumb
else.
it back down with some stupid shit.
How come SpongeBob can drive a rock that is stick shift, but he cannot drive a boat?
Because it is a fucking cartoon. Next question now.
Yes, so yeah.
Because it's a sentient sponge. along with a squirrel underwater.
I think
It's a mental game. That's
Right.
all it is.
Yeah, I think
He
it's
was
the same.
confident with the stone. He was not confident with boating school. Actually, he got a crush on this Puff. He just wants to stay in boating school.
Oh.
This Puff thick. You see
This
her
Puff-
you see her when she get mad, or when she like.
What girl you know can get thicker by the
Hey
second,
man,
bro?
she'll keep you warm on the cold winter.
That's any logic. Should keep you warm with those Siberian nights. You live like a fucking. If you weren't Mexican, you'd be a good Russian. You would be fantastic Russian. Substitute that tequila for vodka. My boy looked like 12 years of Slav.
12 years Cossack?
12-year Cossack, yeah.
No, but I think it's like Mike
And
said,
body slowly.
it's a funny episode, but I think it follows on that line of like, you know how sometimes people will say, oh, I can't drink beer because I get wrecked, but I can drink all the liquor in the world.
Right.
It's that like mentality,
It is
you know,
a
there's certain
mental
things
game.
that affect you just in a certain way when it's just like, it's gonna affect you the same way it affects, you know, most humans.
I agree with that.
There's like a
What's-
suggestive.
Wasn't there an episode where he was successfully doing it, but then lost it because he got nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is all.
Also, he had the intense pressure of needing to deliver the very first Krusty Krab pizza.
How many seasons are there?
They are a stupid amount of seasons. in
Yeah,
that show.
didn't SpongeBob just officially end like
Thank God.
January?
Oh yeah, you gonna say why you hate that show?
I don't know. It's just too stupid. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
How do you hang out with us?
Yeah.
Well, no. Like I don't like. I like humor, but I hate stupidity humor. So like,
How do you hang out with us?
I mean, the humor that we do is kind of clever in a way. It's
There
not
were
just.
10
It's not just straight
The
stupidity.
old
That's what you
episodes
like to
of
believe in.
SpongeBob were the best, but that's because, you know, I was like in the 5th grade when they came out.
True.
So anytime I quote SpongeBob, it's always from those
Those
episodes.
original ones, yeah.
That
Yeah.
new stuff that come out,
I don't
I
even
watched.
know.
I was like, oh, SpongeBob. So when I watched it, I was like, this is
It's like New
bad.
Family Guy.
Yeah,
This
it's
is bad.
kind of like, you know, when we was kids, we all liked Jim Carrey.
Right.
Like, I can't see myself like going back and watching a Jim Carrey
But
and just like I mean
I don't
I
think he
feel
got-
like I can laugh, but
Uh-huh.
I'll be more annoyed
I
than
don't think he
would
got
be
dumber.
laughing.
I just think that we got older.
Yeah.
Like
Nah,
it
even as a
changed.
kid, I thought SpongeBob was just straight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking you, but I'm just saying, like, I was talking about Tobias' point. It's like, it looks trash now, but it's just because your perspective has changed. We, like, what we talked about, like, a couple episodes back, would you hang out with young you? Like,
yeah.
do you think that'd be a fun time to hang out with
He
young
played
you?
really cool video games at his friends.
I mean, it'd be sick games. Like, we'd be gaming hard, but
Yeah.
aside from that, it's like, I don't know if I would have a conversation with young me. I'd be like, nigga, you stupid. Like, I don't want to hear
But then
it.
it'll be fun because I know all his secrets. You know, all my secrets.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
So
I guess.
then that way I can like bully young me.
Damn, you asshole. You bully young you?
You
Well,
hate
I
on
mean,
yourself?
I'd rather take advantage of him than somebody else take advantage of me. You know.
I guess.
If anyone's beating you up, it's
Yeah.
me.
He teaches you some valuable
And
lessons.
then all he grows up to be like, I'm gonna kick younger me so when I'm older one day.
Yeah.
And the
Give
cycle
him something to
just
look up to,
continues.
yeah.
Continues.
Give him something to look up to.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Break the cycle.
But yeah, you gotta be the
You
one.
gotta be the best you.
You gotta be the champ.
Be better than the other yous that
Be
are out
better
there.
than the older you.
There's a
That's what happens.
there's a Baron Eric out there with the curl
Yeah.
mustache. Scumbag Eric.
I'm traumatized because
His name is Derek.
Derek. Derek Y.
Bizarro Eric is Derek.
an older version of me kicked my ass when I was younger, so I'm gonna grow up and kick my younger
Kick
ass
younger ass.
to teach
Change
him a
the
lesson.
C.
Yeah.
Change the C to a K for kick ass.
Yeah. It's Eric, but with the K at the end instead of that. Eric. And then there's an even more bizarro one with a Q at the end. Eric. Like,
You know what Bizarro Eric to me looked like?
what?
Undercover Brother. When he's sitting there eating like that mayonnaise sandwich.
I thought you were gonna say Kel from Keenan and Kel.
No, that is Eric.
Dang. Shout out to King and Kel, man.
Don't try and trick.
I know what Keenan's doing. What's Kel doing? Anyone see
Nothing.
Kel?
I thought he
No, no.
died at one point.
No.
No, he's
alive.
I'm not being messed up, I swear. I
That's
thought he
messed
died.
up.
But then I remember it's Romeo from Steve Harvey show that I'm thinking of.
That's messed up.
How was that messed up? He did
I
die.
YouTube them once. He had like
Romeo or
8
Lil Romeo? Or
Not Lil Romeo.
Not Little Romeo, no.
Whoa.
Romeo was from the Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey show.
Wait,
yeah.
what about Lil Bow Wow? Did he die?
No.
His career date.
Oh!
Wait, what
Wasn't he flexing with like,
he
how much he stacks of
he
money,
was
but it
doing
was just
some
like,
community college.
No, that was Romeo, Little Romeo.
That's what it was,
Yeah,
yeah.
ID.
That's Lil Romeo.
But to give him credit, like, what dude do you know is like actually investing in a college? Like other people invest in liquor. Not saying there's anything wrong with
Dude who gets
investing
a
in liquor.
paycheck
Facts.
But I mean, it is kind of cool. Like, I mean, you can give them, like, you can joke about it, but if you think about it, like, dang, this dude is actually promoting college.
With your father being who he is and your father being worth something $100 million, like, it's like, what the hell could you? That's the way I feel about, like, Beyonce's kids, like, all three of them. Like, what the fuck y'all gonna do?
Truth.
That is true.
To be in
Start my own fashion.
Right. The hell, you will always live in the shadow. Like, the only kids so far that I think that have broken out of
It's
their
the Will
shadow
Smith kids,
is the Smiths.
Yeah.
Those
Jaden,
kids are
Willow.
very talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very talented.
And
But on the other side, who wants a degree from Master P University?
the same people who want a degree from Trump,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, no, I think IDTC, if that's the right name,
See, you don't even
it's
know.
very similar to like
Idiots.
what was it like? No, it's very similar to like the Variety, and then what was the other
Everest.
one? Everest, yeah.
Where your boy does passion.
I mean, and then think about it, like, right, we're not like they're like community. They're like community type colleges.
You know what?
Right? They're not like full on university, and a
originally
lot of
gave-
people can get like really good associate
Right.
degrees.
I originally gave those degrees shit, and then I realized
Same
a
shit.
lot of people in
Yeah.
college did the same shit. The only difference is that yours was that your building was 200 years old.
Yes.
That's
And you
literally
pay more.
And you pay
You
more.
pay
Like,
more.
because it's easy to be like, it's easy until you know it and you see
Yeah.
it and like seen the process of it.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh shit, like this
It's
shit
not
ain't
that
no
much different. It's
yeah,
really
it's
not,
like you
yeah.
look at it and you're just like, this is like, and it makes you realize all of that shit was bullshit.
Yeah.
All it does when you watch them is make you realize your degree was pointless.
And it makes you mad that like it's a system. Yeah.
Because like every
book, right?
But they force you to get it kind of.
half the books are the same book. Half the books are the same shit. It's not like it's like some dumbed down version. Half the books are literally the same content.
Yeah. Like there's only one way you can teach someone. Well, no. Yeah.
Nah.
Now, I was gonna say something in addition to that, but
Yeah, it's just it's just something you do to like separate yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
Because in
think
all honesty, like back when you were 18, would you have chosen a community college?
no. But now that I know what I know, I would have done it for the first 2 years maybe, and then jumped into
and
college.
then
Yeah.
Because we give that's the part is that I feel like we need to stop a couple of things. We need to stop bullshitting and acting like the future isn't going to be trade jobs. And then we need to stop giving people shit who went to community colleges to start off. If anything, I'd argue they're smarter because they didn't waste the money and the resources on the
yeah,
first 2 years.
I agree on that
Yeah.
second part, but I'm not too sure if I agree about like the trade job.
Trade is the future, bro. Because the market is now flooded with people who have degrees, and a lot of people don't have trades, and so a lot of companies are hiring kids out of high
No,
school.
doesn't it
with
depend
trade
on what the degrees are in, right? Cause I mean,
Of course,
yeah,
just like
because
yeah. But I mean, the same could be said about a lot of degrees. Even a lot of science-based degrees don't like. Think about it.
I mean,
Like no disrespect, no disrespect, like biology or
Yeah.
physics, unless you go doctoral route.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's just like, and I don't mean that. And I don't want the energy to come off as me coming at you. That's just me being energetic. But it's
No,
like,
that's
Oh,
true.
no,
If
no.
you're,
I
you're,
didn't
if you're in a
take that.
science field, you need that doctoral degree just because everybody's really big dick about it. Because I had to go struggle for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
Right.
and
The
also
system
because
bullshit
is one
the
thing,
focus of that is like research. in a
yeah,
sense,
because
right?
you got to
So
go
you
pay
can't
your
really
dues,
do.
quote unquote, in research.
Yeah, you can't be in a R&D lab without really having.
Well, the thing is, here's the thing. Like, I don't think you need a PhD though.
Well, I don't think you need a
master's,
PhD, but
yeah.
you need to do something like
Like, if
if
you're
you
like-
did undergrad research, which is what you did,
Yeah.
then like I feel like that's valid.
But I think a PhD from my perspective is more for like academia. Like if you're planning to be doing research.
not necessarily because you have like a lot of PhDs working for Google like in that specific research and
PhDs for what
development.
though? Like PhD computer sciences? Yes. But like.
Oh, you talking about?
PhD,
Oh,
like,
you only talking about science
Yeah,
and
like, talking about,
chemistry.
like,
Oh, he's only talking about science specifically,
Well, no,
not tech.
that's different because you can have people like in the R&D field of like pharmaceutical
But
type
how many do you
companies.
need? You only need one PhD to
Not necessarily. Well, all right. So I'm
That's the
speaking.
thing,
I'm speaking
though.
on the field. I don't have that much
That's the thing.
like
but, like, that's,
knowledge
well,
about,
that's
but
the
I would
issue.
assume right there are multiple ways. Like there are like each pharmaceutical company is specializing in something different, right?
Yeah,
So you
so
may
you
have
get-
one who's probably trying to like develop like
I think-
male.
I think y'all are
birth
both right,
control
but I
or
think
someone
what
who's
he's
trying to-
arguing specifically is that the market gets flooded because if you got 15 people getting degrees in, getting PhDs, but a company only needs one high level.
But that's the thing
PhD,
is, how many pharmaceutical companies are there?
Right,
and then also beside that, you can have like
multiple departments within.
Yeah, multiple departments.
I agree with you, but I'm saying that.
And then you also have like people who do like cosmetic makeup.
Right,
people who make like
I agree with you, but like there's only so many positions for those types of things. Like it's like
wait, say that again.
There's only so many positions. Like say for instance, there's 10,000 different fields within our country or within our country alone that need a PhD in this to do this job or whatever. I think part of what Eddie is saying is that there are more people graduating with that than are necessary for the positions to fill.
So, I mean, the same thing can be said about any other degree.
Yeah, so
right?
Well, except like what
car company.
except what you
engineering,
did, which is in engineering. I agree with too, because a lot of engineering positions you don't necessarily need, but it's like except for computer science / software engineering.
Well, no, I feel like the same way. Sorry. All right, what I'm
because
arguing
that one
is that
has the highest.
I guess what
rate.
I'm arguing is that if you're saying like you feel like people getting PhDs in computer science, like it's too many for like the jobs that are available.
So think about it
I feel
this
like the
way.
same way can be said about.
So, and most fields available today, across the board, whatever you want to think of, journalism, engineer, whatever, the rate of jobs opening versus the rate of people available to jobs.
I agree with that.
Is not proportionate, which is why it's hard to get a job, and that it's kind of what he's arguing. Is
Well, yeah, but I'm talking specifically PhD, which is what I thought.
Right,
Same thing.
But I think it's different though.
Well, this is the thing about industry.
You have a lot of people that's trying to get a computer science degree, but there's not that many people. Granted, there are a lot of people trying to get PhD in computer science, but like the number is like completely different.
Right.
Well, see, let me ask you this, because I don't know about the PhD computer science, but like in the PhD in chemistry, let's say you choose a specific field, analytical. Once you decide to do analytical, it's not general analytical chemistry. You focus in on like literally, there's this one sentence where you're looking at one class of compounds. So you spend 4 or 5 years looking at this one class of compounds, you produce 2-3 papers. An industrial company. So if you want to keep doing research, you stay in academia to focus on what you're interested in. But if you try to get into industry,
They don't give a fuck about.
they don't give a fuck about what you study. They just want an analytical PhD chemist because they're doing paints.
Some other.
But I think it's very similar to like with any other PhD. Like, of course, you focus on one narrow, very specific topic, right? But same thing, right? You still learn general, like more foundational knowledge.
So they take the courses, right? You take the courses to help you do the research.
Yes.
But that's like almost like the master's degrees, right? Like
Right.
you get just master courses.
Yeah.
Whereas in like sciences, like if you get a master's, they don't even look at you because they're like,
but I think there are a lot of people who have PhDs who, like, they may have done their dissertation on a specific topic, but they may get some of them. Ideally, you won't get hired doing the same topic that you did for your dissertation. But there are a lot of people who do get hired just doing like a general field. Like they're not doing that specific topic. So the same thing.
You mean this in general, right? Yeah. I agree with that, but to some degree, I also agree with the overqualification thing, where it's like, why would I hire a PhD when I can hire a master's?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too.
But in the science field, they prefer the PhD just because you have the extra research.
Yeah,
and then also like your work ethic, right? Because with the PhD is more rigorous. They know like that you won't just give up, like that you will go searching for answers. But I think the whole idea where R&D is like R&D is like there's no answer. We're trying to find an answer. Right? We don't want someone who's just gonna like look for someone to tell them what to do. You want someone who's gonna actively go researching like the state of the art technology, like what's currently in the market, how can I improve on that, like, and start doing researches. So I feel like that's why. Never mind.
I agree with you. I think you're the whole right. I think what Eddie is saying, I think what Eddie is saying specifically is that, like what he mentioned briefly towards the end, was that this company wants you to do this, and this, right? And you can clearly because you have the mental capacity to do it. And the work ethic. The issue is that that's not what you want to do. Because you spent 4 years researching a specific compound and they want you to come in and do some completely different shit. And now you're like, I don't want to do... Like with you. Your degree is very specific. Your degree is general in that I'm sure there's a wide variety of things you can do within computer science. But what you want to fucking do is vastly different than what a lot of industries...
So let's say the rest of your career you don't do what you wanted to do.
Right.
What was the point of me spending this extra time?
Why not spend 4 additional years doing this?
There are people who do go to school just just to learn. As cliche as that sounds.
No, it's absolutely true.
Because I feel like
It's called a career student.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like 30% of me would want to go back for a PhD just to learn more.
Just to learn more, and
I feel
then to also
but just
be a
from my field, I
PhD.
can learn on my own.
Yeah, and that's the way I feel about the future. That's why I guess tying this all back into the beginning, it's like what I was saying about the difference in surplus of jobs is that the market is flooded with a lot of people who not only want to be in their degree program, but think the gateway to the future, the only way they can have a future is to go to school. So the danger of that is that a lot of people end up getting degrees. You flood, just like with money, right? You put too much money into the economy, every bit of money counts for less. You put too many degrees out there, and like now think about it. Think about like now, what's the median age for a person who works at McDonald's? 27. Think about how many positions for shit have people with degrees in them that used to never have degrees.
Yeah, but I feel like that's also. I feel like that was designed on purpose, right? Like, because I think we all agree. Especially now with like the access to technology and resources that we have that other generations didn't. We can not easily, but we are more equipped to learn stuff on our own without going to like a formal classroom setting.
Right.
But I feel like it's designed on purpose. Companies aren't gonna accept you. Even I feel like companies won't accept you if you don't have that degree.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that side subject.
No,
I feel
like that's completely true.
Yeah.
And it's done to maintain those levels.
Right, because it's in this industrial revolution complex where you need to do this, and this to solve the problem. The issue is that when we're talking about in the car is that the older generations think that this is a certain way you have to do things, and don't get with the times.
You can't jump. You can't cut the line. You have to do the same thing.
And not only is this the difficulty in this generation between its older generations is that older generations progressed, but progression was always at a standard time. You know what I mean? Like not standard. Things always speed up, but it's like the speed was constant. There's this book or this essay or something that I read that was talking about how gone are the days when there was this clear generational gap, where it's like 100 years ago, the generation between that and the next generation, there was very little quote unquote technological achievement between the two. So the generations were pretty consistent in terms of like.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, people
saying now, like
exactly. So like a lot nowadays, like progression has gone up so fast that the next generations are cycling so quickly.
Progressing in terms of technology.
Yeah, exactly. Because a generation used to be like 30 years.
No, yeah,
and now a generation is like 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because what separates us from what really like we're Generation X and Generation Z, or is this
coming up?
Gen Z is the one that's coming up right now.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that there isn't really a lot that separates us between Gen Z.
Nah,
we still laugh at the same memes. We
Well,
still
I guess-
do half the same shit. We still play all the same games and do all the same TV shit.
Now,
but it's like a 5-year difference.
the only
between
difference
us.
would probably be like what social media platform you use.
Right.
Because like literally, like when was it? Like over the weekend, somebody asked me something. I was trying to show them something on Facebook, and they was like, "Wait, you still use Facebook?
Right.
That's so old."
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, "What?"
Nigga fight Facebook.
What?
Think about it. Facebook's like, I mean, Facebook's been around since like 2005,
Facebook
6.
is like the MySpace.
But it's the
It
MySpace
really
of
is
the
a
generation.
MySpace.
IG
Crazy.
and Snapchat are the new
I feel like even
equivalent.
IG is starting to get
And RG is starting to get old because Snapchat is starting to take that over.
Yeah.
And so like, Snapchat might be on its way out and IG might be making a recovery.
Yeah,
but
they're in like a little.
Yeah.
They're in like a current battle to see who ends up.
And so going back to like the Industrial Revolution thing, it's like when you then look at like, because a lot of older people aren't leaving their positions for a while, you know what I mean? So they still have that monopoly over who gets picked, quote unquote. And what were you going to say about that?
Off of that, what you were saying earlier, sorry, Eric was touching me. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Sorry. So gone. So back to the generational thing in the workforce. Gone are the days of the 20-year watch.
Right.
Wait,
People
I don't understand that. What is
so
it?
people
You'd work at the same place
for 20 years.
Same
20
shit
years.
for 20 years, yeah.
20-year
that
watch.
You get this 20-year gold watch the company would buy for you.
That used to be like let's say the 60s, just to make it easy. Let's say that was like the thing. You found your place. You worked there for 20, 25 years. And at the end of that 25 years, you got your gold watch. Gone are those days. You work somewhere more than like 5 years, it's unusual now.
Yeah.
Like
So,
it's time to, like,
off of that, this progression thing is different. There used to be the mentality of, well, they're going to be here for 20 years.
Right.
So, at certain intervals in time, they will be ready to progress to the next step. Instead of what it should be, what it should be now. And so, it does happen sometimes. Whenever you're ready to go, then you move up.
Exactly.
There's no, wait another year and a half to move up. It's okay. You're ready to go. Send them
Yeah.
up.
That's
And
right.
people always say like you should have like the older generation say you should be patient, but the patience
Shouldn't
isn't
be.
existing. It shouldn't because you're gonna get stuck there. Like
Yes, you will
Yeah, you
exactly
can't-
get stuck there.
Yeah,
Yes.
because like I said, like the older generation, like keep in mind the economy isn't growing at the same, or the wage isn't growing at the same rate.
Nah.
So people are staying in those positions for longer.
Yep.
So there's just like with a traffic jam, if somebody's at the front of the line going slow, it fucks up everybody else's progression on the way down.
Which is one of my main concerns with some of the generation before us.
Yeah, it's like-
they still have that same thing where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you haven't paid your 5-year due yet, so you're not ready.
Right.
But you
that's-
are.
Yeah, exactly. That's been hot bullshit. And then on top of that, because we get, like, as Ariel was pointing out, we get information so much faster now that I don't need 5 years to know the same
Yeah.
shit you needed to know for 5 years.
But it doesn't click in their heads, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. You have all these older people. They're
You want that goddamn
power,
Google.
they're just not used to it, right? Because
Right.
they don't. It's the world isn't what it used to
It's
be.
tough for
It's changed
everybody.
like
Well,
this.
I feel like it does click in their head. I feel like they're just stubborn in a way.
Well,
Which I can
think
understand.
Some people said
it's tough for everyone, I think.
Some people
Yeah.
are still progressive enough to realize, okay, these kids know what's up. Some of these kids are smart. Let's help
Let's
them
let
out.
this shit go, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are people who are going to be stuck in their ways, which is true for everything when stuff changes.
Right.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing where, like, the thing is, they're quite. The issue is they're not sure what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about it.
Nobody
Like,
is.
the thing is, like, if you were to provide free education, what differentiates you from someone else to get that 6-figure payday? You know,
Correct.
that's the
Right.
question that, like, the big, like, CEOs and the people who control wealth is. Because the idea is, you know how the middle class has been shrinking?
Yes.
That's a ridiculous problem, and not for us. Like, it is for us, but, like, it's a bigger problem for, like, the top 5%. Why?
Right.
Because they profit off of the middle class, right?
Right.
And also,
Like,
how do you become top 5%?
Right.
Everyone's the same.
If there's no one below you to sustain you, like, I forget what the number is, like, I forget what percentage of the population maintains a millionaire, you know? But you need a certain amount of people in the middle class to maintain you at that level. So once that gets eliminated, you can't it's like, you're basically building this inverse pyramid that's going to end up falling down.
You're like borderline, like almost like communism at that point.
Right, because the thing is, it's almost like an hourglass, but like think of it as like the midsection
Yeah.
holding up the rest of that. Like it's completely full and
And
it's
s-
weighted, and it's going to eventually crack and break.
And so the only, I think to add to that argument, what I think a lot of billionaires and millionaires or whatever are learning is that, like, is what the Elon Musks and Sir Richard Bransons are learning of the world is that we're going to have to hit a point where people's basic needs are going to have to get met without jobs because people
Exactly.
won't have jobs.
What does that
Exactly.
mean? 'Cause
Basic
No, I
needs
feel
mean
like-
food, mean like, you know,
Yeah.
you have to give them free food.
Because 20 years ago, like, I talked to one of my coworkers, he was like, yeah, I had this bullshit job in high school and whatever, and I used that to pay my way through college, and I was like, yeah, how sweet of a world it would be if we still live like that. Because, like, think about it, like, McDonald's and stuff, like, when you walk into a Walmart or whatever, kiosks are getting automated. I know it seems dumb on the outside
No,
looking
but I
in,
feel like
but
that's a
people
good thing
will-
because I feel like I don't know. I just feel like.
it means
Are you
less
talking about?
people
You
are
feel
doing
like
shit.
robots are going to take
Yeah,
over? I feel like.
I don't think
feel
there's a problem with that. I'm just being like, it's beautiful in that people don't have to do shit they don't like
yeah,
anymore.
like labor
Right.
intense jobs.
But then
yeah.
what do you replace that with?
Right, like,
Yeah,
what's my
everything
question?
else. Think about it. There's
But
like
there is no everything.
there
No,
is a lot of
like
other
today-
jobs. There's a lot of jobs that require more brain thought.
I told
But
you
today, 45 years old, no college education.
Right.
What job do you give
What
this
job do
person
you give a
if
person?
You've automated everything else.
Anything they would want to do, literally. I mean, didn't we have the discussion before? Like, think about it. If you didn't have to worry about pay, what would you do?
But see, okay,
I think
so
what
then how do you
do
determine? How do you determine how much money Elvin gets and how much money you get? and how much
Right.
money I get?
I feel like as
to pursue what I want to
because
do.
you and I.
no, wait, sorry. Are y'all
Yeah.
talking about like in socialist type?
No,
It's not
I mean,
socialism.
no socialism.
This isn't
Because,
socialism where
because, like,
we
you
all
just
have
said-
jobs and then we distribute wealth. This isn't that. It's none of us have jobs and we all have what we need. You know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, so like a utopia is what you're trying to say.
I don't know if that's even
I don't know how it's gonna look. But that's
because
the issue, right? Like,
So no, all right. So just make sure we're on
Uh-huh.
the same page. You're talking about if nobody has job, but everybody gets the basic need like food. water,
right. Not necessarily your entertainment.
Then,
but like,
then why would you need money in that part?
Well, that's also a good argument too
Yeah.
because you
no,
can't
why do you
exchange
need
money.
'Cause, well, people don't need.
Well, yeah. Think about it. Why would you?
Hold
Why
on.
would
So
you
let's say I have a certain skill set. Eduardo wants to learn from me, but what's he going to offer me to get my services?
But that's the thing. What would you need him to offer you if you have your basic?
Well, what would he want to
necessities?
teach me then? You know, like why would he?
There's a lot of people. Think about it. Like, how many of us have mentors,
True.
right? And like, I don't ever remember giving my mentor anything.
I don't have a mentor.
But this is a little different, right? Because there's
I'm a
Well,
stranger.
like, maybe even not a mentor, but even peer, like,
It's
peer,
kinda-
like, I'm pretty sure you learned stuff from Eddie. Like,
Yeah.
when y'all talking about chemistry, about like,
Bob said some random guy in the street now wants to have you teach him everything you know.
It's a very
What do you get out of this?
And
for
then,
me personally, I would be able to like learn from me teaching them.
Yeah, you would.
But like,
you would have most
think,
people.
all right, think about this
Right,
as well.
that's
It's like
the thing.
going along the same arguments we had before. Okay, so you have like the striation of jobs basically. So the top is like super high level programmer, like like people like lawyer, like
CTOs,
lawyer who's been in the industry for 40
right.
years,
Yeah.
super high level computer science dude who's been there from the start of computers. Like all of these people at the top with these huge think tanks of knowledge.
And then down to me at the bottom.
And down at the very bottom, he said me, down at the very bottom is people with very low level skills. So it's like working at McDonald's, but there's a dead end for you. You know what I mean? Or like, not saying that that's everybody, but there are people that work there,
Yeah,
lifers,
you
because
work
that's
there
just,
all
you don't
your
really think you want anything beyond that. Nothing's wrong with that. I'm not giving people
No,
that shit.
I'm
But
not
I'm saying
like
like
people-
those jobs are there, right? So let's say for instance that there is a set amount of those. Let's say 1 billion of these jobs, quote unquote. Start from the top all the way down. When you cut half that tree in half, there's a limited amount of jobs left of people
only,
that can be
only
held.
because of right now. Though.
But you go from in the
But I feel
sense
like,
that,
but I feel like those lower end jobs, I feel like literally the only thing that separates a smart person from a dumb person is resources. Like, to be honest, like,
or willingness as well.
Well, see,
right?
that's the thing. That's
yeah, willingness as
See,
well
there's-
too.
there's
But
a-
like, technically, I feel like there's way smarter people than us who work at McDonald's. Just like,
Oh,
their
that's not a knock.
environment.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sure
yeah.
there are, but the
So,
issue is
so what
that
I'm saying that if you cut those jobs
Uh-huh.
and then like you give them the basic needs, so they don't have to like do those jobs to
Uh-huh.
like pay for like rent or get food.
Yeah.
Those people, just like we all did with our like
with that
lives,
move up,
we will
Yeah.
find our niche and we will pursue.
But
that.
see, that's what the issue.
And then also, I know you're saying like there's like, as of right now, what would be the jobs for them, right? If
Uh-huh.
you think about it, 10 years ago, half of the jobs now at the top didn't exist. There
Right.
were no, I mean, I think Google did exist, but there was no automated like autonomous vehicles. There was no Twitter.
Right.
There was no Snapchat. People created those. I feel
Right.
like the same thing will happen. There's a shit ton of like innovation left, right? Driving cars,
Absolutely.
like.
There's room for investment in every way, but the issue that
I
I'm
mean,
thinking
flying
is
cars,
that
not driving cars.
the issue that I'm thinking of
Tripping.
is going along the same lines of what Nate was saying is that you can create a new business, but you don't have a buyer anymore because
Right.
there are like all of these people that don't have jobs now and also don't have money.
Right.
And then how do you then get resources? Because you could get automated machines that'll make your job, like that'll do the lower level work
Right.
for your company. But that still is going to take some revenue of some kind to get started.
Okay, all right,
Because
sorry.
people aren't going to just hand that to
Right.
you.
So my question
And then
is-
let's say everybody starts their own business that has all of its
Then
own
I feel
independent
like
robots.
I feel like in that point, then
Yeah.
all right. So if going back to the same society where nobody pays for like the basic needs, so like water, food, housing, the only stuff that people will need to pay for would be entertainment. So I feel like all of that stuff would just all of those. All
There
of
will
those
be a creative
companies,
boom.
yeah, all of those companies would just be catered towards entertainment purposes. So you will still have buyers, right? Because you will still want to go to the movie. You may still want to play a video game. You may still
But
want.
how do you pay for that?
Look, there may be
Because
more-
you'll get paid.
Look,
You'll get paid for your
You
job.
see, you have to switch from
But see, that's the
currency
thing.
to like bargaining.
right. There's no longer the idea of currency then gets eliminated. So, then how
So
do
you're saying there's no money?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
well,
scenario.
that's-
There can't be.
There can't be,
Yeah.
and that's
because you don't have a job, you don't have a means
because you
to
don't
like
provide
revenue.
right because your service is entertainment, right? Like, and I think at that point you do end up diverting like intellectual resources into creativity, right?
Right.
So you do end up there will be a creative boom, but like just with creativity as anything, there's a talent level, right?
Yeah.
So it's false to assume that if you supply enough, like I don't know what the real percentage is.
Which in a lot of ways, jokingly, is already happening now. You have like Twitter and Vine stars and all this
Exactly.
other
So
stuff.
there's an
Right.
initial creative boom that's occurring.
Yeah, there's this
But like, what
creativity
happens to
explosion.
the rest of the people who, even if you give them all the every supply and educational opportunity, just can't do it?
And
What do they
entertainment,
do?
They find
entertainment
something else.
is, yeah, and entertainment is highly subjective.
I mean, because there's
And how do you justify like if Elvin's a really creative superstar?
And I
But
suck.
wait,
well,
right? Let me
then
give
in
you,
that
let me
point-
give some of your funds to him, or you deserve that Lambo, but he doesn't. You know?
Right, yeah, like how do you decide? Because it's like, I'm not saying
I
none of
guess
us has
you-
yes,
you-
because,
right.
yeah, at the end of the day, it has
And then
to
the
be
thing
done.
You
I mean,
can't
but
always-
it
you
could
can never
be-
rule out like human greed.
Right.
Because from the
Yeah.
get-go, someone
Yeah.
wants to be at the top. So how do you differentiate who's at the top?
Yeah, how do you decide who's at the top, who's at the
Because then it's
bottom?
gonna get like very political,
Yeah.
and the political like
And psychological,
right.
like we like to act like it doesn't mean anything, but people need purpose. And so, like, even if you work a low-level job, it gives you a sort of dignity because
Right, it
you
gives you
have a
this, like,
position in
meaning.
society.
Right.
That's one of the things I heard about being homeless. That's the most devastating part of being homeless is that it's not the homelessness; it's the free time is what kills you.
You think it's the free time?
I've heard
I think it's the way how
homeless
people
people say
treat you.
because it's the way people treat you too. But I've heard homeless people say like it's 100% the free time because okay, now you have 8 hours a day that are freed up. What was it like? I've said this before to Nate. What was it like them first few months after college when you ain't had no fucking job? That shit was horrible.
Yes.
It was absolutely horrible. I hated every moment of them days, bro. I don't want to go back to
But
it.
but what were you doing? I know
you're not behind. I was actively
really
learning.
asking.
Yeah, I was actively learning. I was learning
But see-
programming. I was doing some other stuff.
but for you,
it was
what-
still that dreadful.
Even when you was learning, because I feel like
Yeah.
I remember when you was learning, you was like you had this whole new breath of passion
Yeah.
that came to you. So it didn't seem like it was like.
But
I
it's
guess
like,
maybe being at home
But like,
might
yeah,
have
but like,
been that.
you
But
can't
do you
fill
think
an
the
entire
free time-
day with learning. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because like, even the smartest of smart people, like, you gotta break
You
from
have
that.
to do it. You have to
Yeah.
put. You have to.
You have to
implement
apply
and
it, yeah. You have to focus
it.
it. So it's like it's because like that's why I think in a lot of ways that depression is going up and all of these mental disorders are going up in our society as well, is because people there are less and less jobs. And when we hit a point in society when we hit that critical max where it's like there's too many people with these degrees that don't have enough jobs. You're gonna see that spike. I could predict, not knocking on wood, and I don't want it to happen. I could predict that in 20 years, that depression and suicide will be the highest killer.
It probably
Oh,
will.
people
Yeah.
will
No,
be.
I agree.
Yeah,
It's
because-
this kind of thing where like you.
Yeah, how do you feel that time or overdose of drugs? Like I think that one of the three of those will overtake a lot of other things in terms of deaths and suicide. And even if you look at it like countries, I think that Japan in a lot of ways, jokingly, I know I'm gonna get a joke, but it's like Japan in a lot of ways has been ahead of the curve in terms of a lot of countries in terms of society and the direction it might be heading in. Because it's like Japan itself has a high suicide rate. Like there's these limited positions. There's these when you lose these positions and people have a hierarchy in society. When you lose your hierarchy, when you lose this other things, all the psychological stuff happens to you. You turn to those things, and so we have to look for that in the future.
Yeah,
when it
in the
comes to
future,
that.
the future is going to be shifting, right? It's going to be ever shifting, and it's going to be complicated.
Right, it's going to be very
because
complicated.
there's not like a straightforward answer, right?
Unless we get a Thanos.
Because you start talking about socialism, you start talking about, but the thing is, it does become very political because someone doesn't want to be holding the reins.
True, somebody wants to be the leader.
Because currently, capitalism is such a major like player internationally, business-wise.
Right.
Like the power in the U.S. isn't just held by politicians; it's held by like businessmen.
Yeah,
Like,
it really
these-
is a few businessmen that can
These
It's a
do it.
business
influential,
now,
these
yeah.
influential like Fortune 500 company owners and CEOs.
The
But
Koch brothers
the day
who
that they
pay
can't
for
profit,
politicians,
how
yeah.
do they make money? How
Right.
do they not make money, but how do they gain value? Because money isn't like a real thing, right? It's just this absolute value that you give something, right?
Yeah, money inherently isn't anything.
No, it's not a real thing. It's like these people have power because they have these billions attached to their name, right? And that gives them influence and power. So how do they maintain that influence?
And it's not even the money.
But
Money
I mean,
is a
it could just
reflection
be.
of the
It
power.
also
not
could just
other
be the
way around.
position, though. The position, like
Right,
you
so
may
you
not,
just
you don't have to
always-
have that. You may not have that money anymore, but you can still attain a position of value.
Right,
that
and then
can give
it
you
turns
that.
into like how you dictate who gets what. You dictate what
Right.
the top. I'm gonna say that.
Wait, just for curiosity, since we kind of on this topic, what would everybody do if they didn't have to pay for their basic necessities? So like water, food, housing,
We did that.
all of that. Yeah, but I can't remember. I'm just asking again.
I would either study languages and run around countries just talking to random people, or I would continue with music.
I
What was
collect more
yours?
folklore and write a book about it.
There it is.
Maybe
what was
make
yours?
some short
I would
films.
pick up as many skill sets as I get my hands on.
Yeah, woodcraft.
So basically, what's
Oh,
trades?
like
Trades? I
Yeah,
pick up all
trades.
the trades I get my hands on.
okay.
And that's going back all the way back to what I was saying in the beginning.
So
It's
like woodcrafting would be
Yeah.
a trade.
Metalwork.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like
Okay,
that.
okay,
That's
so
why I
that's-
said that those jobs are in demand because
But I mean, think about it. But then you could have those jobs be automated by like through robots.
well, that's the issue too is that there are some automations for that, but a lot of that is very very
Not all
specific
of it,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Special skill sets.
Yeah,
It
they're
could
very
also
specific
turn into
sets.
like what you just said, like automated, but then you start selling it as a handmade thing, right? So now value is injected in this
Artisanal,
object
yeah.
because now it's an artisanal product.
Yeah,
that's
it's rare.
handmade.
Yeah.
It's
All we
kinda
care
like
about is
hand
rare
woven.
shit. Yeah.
Right, because now it's like, oh, I don't want this anybody can have an automated like boat, but I want this like handmade
whenever,
like
when everybody is skating,
wood,
somebody
yeah,
wants
by
a
the
big
wood
person.
company,
Yeah.
handmade so hours. That's people are gonna value the creative thing. That's
And
what
we already
it
do
is.
that now. Like that is literally a thing. We live in a culture. Remember, the culture used to be everything was handmade, so that wasn't a second thought. Now handmade
We're going
shit
back.
is
We're going
already
back. It's
artisanal.
happening. Yeah, we're going back to this.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. I think like there's days when I think of like, do I want to go back and get a PhD? Do I want to go back and do more graduate schools? And there's days when I'm like, nah, I just would prefer to like go fucking live by the beach.
Yeah. My only issue
Start
about
working like wood crafting, just get something, make enough money to like maintain my
Sustain yourself.
Yeah.
right, and like just do it. And I think it'd be good. I think it'd be a good year. I think I could do it. I don't know.
yeah.
Off of that, real quick side note for myself, self plug. Goat and Hammer Forge. If you happen to listen to this, I'm down to learn. Please continue with your story.
Please teach him.
Teach the boy.
Teach the boy.
A young grasshopper.
Yes, I'm down.
Give us the child.
I'm happy to be the apprentice.
Yeah, dude. Like I think creative innovation is going to get there, and like podcasts like this, podcasts like others, like once people are fully into this like automated car. Yeah, I'm just saying.
No.
I'm just saying, like once everybody's in their automated cars, what are you going to be doing? You could be studying. You could be like prepping for the
Beating
game.
off.
But let's be real. You're going to be dicking around
Sorry.
watching the Pumpernickel podcast.
There and on that note,
We should be
another fantastic episode of the Knicker Pumple podcast.
Don't forget to check us out on Twitter
Yeah.
at Pumpernickel Pod,
At Pumpernickel Pod.
aka Mr. Pumpernickel P Podcast
There
the
it
Fourth,
is, the God.
the God, Snack God.
Snack God.
That's right. So Eric, stripper name.
Oh, my stripper name.
Loose Goose.
Powerline.
Damn.
I'm not too sure.
We'll come back to you, man. But
Yeah.
everybody have a good week and
Slim
back on
Jeans.
spot.
Alright, y'all.